Hi, how you doing? And a very warm welcome back to youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep with me, Tom. Now, cast your mind back 2 years ago, I know it's been a while, when I had a look at a donated Sinclair ZX81. This was kindly given to me by a friend and colleague at the then Stafford Raspberry Pi Jam event called Simon Pratt. Now, the device sort of worked, it wasn't sure how well it worked, and the keyboard on it definitely didn't work. I did an initial look, we got it to power up, and it kind of put something on the screen, so we knew that possibly the ROM was okay, but that was as far as I got. Well, the other night, during my live 8 till late live stream, which I do nearly every Saturday evening at 2000 hours GMT right here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep, I actually had a look at it live, and I also showed off some of the new parts I have now bought in order to get this vintage 40-plus-year-old ZX81 back up and running. Take a look. I haven't looked at this in quite a long time. I was actually reusing a printed circuit board box. But here is... just get that out. Here is the ZX81 I have, which was very kindly donated to me by Simon Pratt, who occasionally shows up on in the chat on the stream. Simon is a fellow university colleague from he's actually at Birmingham University, and he basically donated this machine to me as it was his spare. And he's a fellow member of what was the Stafford Raspberry Pi Jam / Makerspace event that we're both members of. And he sort of would like me to sort of show this on the channel, and I said I would. And we did do an initial sort of overview of it. Unfortunately, that's as far as we got, because I've been busy, and we do need to kind of just check how things are with the system. So this unit itself is, well, you can see this gouge mark here, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this may have been used at some point as a doorstop, as many of them actually were. It just looks like it's possible that it was a doorstop. It just looks suspicious how you've got this arced curve and then this sort of blunt mark here, so you can imagine a door going like that. The unit on the side is, well, the plastics aren't actually bad at all, other than that. The feet are actually on this one, believe it or not. The screws, though, there are basically next to no screws holding this thing in, as you can see. There's one there and one there. There's actually 2 screws in the whole thing. When we tested it last time, which admittedly was a while ago now, we had an issue that the keyboard, which is the world's worst keyboard, you can imagine, it's a flat membrane keyboard, that doesn't actually work anymore. It's disintegrated, the connections are lost, so it was absolutely need replacing. So you can see here how the rubber feet have been moved off. I can't remember if I did, I don't think I did. But they've been moved off because the rubber feet would have hidden screws originally. So let's just take these out. And this is the computer inside. So there's the case with the 2 screws we have got. So let's just pop that somewhere safe, and I'll lose the screws of my own accord at a later date. So screw here, and screw here. So you can see here how the ribbon has completely disintegrated. So it should be sort of, you can see what's happened. And there's actually a piece of ribbon still stuck here. So this wasn't working last time. But no, to answer the question, if we just turn the top over, so it literally, there is I mean, there's the tiniest amount of sponge, but it's there's nothing. It's like if any of you that had microwave ovens, I know they're a bit different now, but anyone who had microwave ovens back in kind of the mid 80s through to the sort of early to mid 1990s, it's that kind of membrane for the front control panel, so it was all wipeable. If you remember those sort of things, it's exactly the same feeling. So yeah, this has basically deteriorated, which is unfortunate. Now, the board itself is actually relatively good nick and complete. And I remember we did do a power up, and well, we did a power up a while ago, and it worked. Now, this heatsink is terrible because this is the voltage regulator, which everyone has said you need to change because they go off. So basically, it takes a higher voltage in and regulates it down to 5 volts. So really, you could run these things off 5 volts, I guess. A few things to show you. Yeah, so this here is the ROM. So it has Sinclair research on it. What's really weird, and see the copyright date, 1981. What's really weird is the ROM is shorter than the socket. And I've never seen that before, and honestly thought that was some sort of issue, but it worked fine. The Z80 is, I think that's the Z80. It's a neck part, so yes, I believe that's your Z80 processor. So it's a clone from the Zilog chip, so it's a neck, so it's Japanese clone. We have Ferente ULA, so that is your graphics character generator, very similar to BBC's. So if that goes bad, you are kind of stuffed. And that, I'm assuming one of these is the character ROM and the other is possibly basic. I don't think they were combined. So, and yeah, and there was a chip here to do something that's clearly not populated on this board. We then have the RF modulator, which is the CAN, and that is the only video out on one of these, which generates, in this case, a UHF PAL signal. The machines were strictly black and white, but it did a 256 line analog PAL UHF signal. And then you have what looks like a composite cable, RCA type jack. It isn't actually composite, it's basically an aerial feed, so it needs to be fed into a television receiver which can take analog UHF PAL, and that's kind of what I think we'll try running on, because although these go bad in things like Acorn BBC Micros, they seem to be quite reliable in these, and I did get a very good stable picture straight off the RF modulator without them to mess. So the board's all there, it did work. I should also point out there is your edge connector, and there's actually, I don't know if this is showing up on camera, but it looks like this board has been used with something in the past, like a memory expander, because you can see there's marks where something has actually connected in to the edge connector. So that's kind of the board as is. Now, obviously, I want to make improvements to get this thing running. It's then the question of what I want to do with this sort of long term as a project. Now, the case isn't in amazing condition. So basically the big gouge. Now, it is possible to get 3D print versions, and I've seen them from things like Thingiverse, 3D print versions of this case, or the CAD, that you can run out in PLA, which means you could run off as many of these cases as you wanted in various colours. That is an option, and it's a decision I need to make, because obviously I need to re-stick a keyboard in. So rather than try and rip this keyboard, because it's actually adhesively stuck, so it's actually stuck in with adhesive, and it's just basically pushed through a hole, so it's very, very cheaply made. It would mean I can kind of keep all this intact as is, and we put the board into a brand new case. The advantage of having that is obviously I can do funky colours and all sorts, and it means if I want to lop new holes to do expansions and extras, I can without the fear of ripping up an original Sinclair case. So that's the kind of thinking for the project. Now, let me show you a few other bits I've got. Now, I did have the original power supplies. The last time we tried powering this up, it was with the power supply. And I just don't trust the original power supplies. So I bought one of these, which is a replacement modern power supply for the ZX8081. And there we are. So far more efficient, and the UK pin standard with one jack. Now the one thing I hate about the ZX8081 is that it used audio jacks for power, and you've got 3 jacks on the side of the unit, and it's very easy to go and put your full voltage into your blooming audio thing and blow things up. So it's like, ugh. And it's also the case of remembering which is which on these, which is kind of why you need the case with all the screws in it to reference from, because I can't remember which is which offhand. TV, yeah, ear mic, 9 volts. 9 volts, so we're in that way like that. So there is your 9 volt, will be that one there. So yeah, this is the one thing about the design I really, really hate, because it's so easy to do that and really mess things up. So you go in there. There's the brand new power supply. And I think probably what we should do is probably try and power this thing up. Again, just to check, which is also going to be very interesting to see how you're going to see it on screen. So I found what hopefully will be a suitable cable. I'll explain why that's a suitable cable in a minute. First thing I need to do then is let's grab a TV. Very, very cool looking telly, this. Again, one of these little black and white type things. And this is the unit I'm thinking of actually running. Let's get a polystyrene off it. Actually running with the ZX81, because I think it'll look really, really cool. So we'll pop that there, and I do need to grab a... Just check what the thing in the back of that is. Yep, as expected. As I explained, this is RF. It's UHF RF. Okay, so although it looks like a composite port, and it is, you know, you can take a composite cable and fit it, it's not. It's actually an analog aerial type signal. What you can do, and this does sort of work, is you can put... We've got one of these composite cables that actually has RCA composite to audio, okay, audio jack, another audio jack, and that will actually go into the back of these little black and white tellies. So it'll actually go into the TV port like so. This kind of works because it's an aerial signal, okay, it kind of works. So I have done it this way in the past, and I think the last time we tested this device, this actually did work. So let's just take off the plastic wrap. So let's power up that. Now, the only way I think this is going to work for you to be able to see what's going on is I'm going to need to move the camera and right. That kind of works. So, as I said before, we are going to get some strobing. It's not possible to sync this camera to the PAL video signal. Let's set this, it's on TV, and we need to set it to, I think it is on UHF mode, which is here. So first of all, let's just power on, check everything's all right. Take a minute, there we go. So we haven't actually got a sync as such, so that's why you're not seeing too much strobing, because we've got no sync. Now, it should be possible, there we go, to actually tune through the various UHF channels, and you'll see the static will actually change. We shouldn't find a picture, he says, but the static changes. That's the top end. You can actually, there's a tiny piece of plastic which you can't see, I can barely see, that moves. It's so dim you can't see it, but that moves over the entire spectrum. So these things are always rather cheap. But basically, the point is, see how the pattern changes when I scroll through. Okay, that is because there is stuff on the UHF band, and it's things like over-the-air digital television and even some mobile phone communications. And this television is seeing those, so it's actually, there we are. It's weirdly, that's locked onto something. He says, interesting. That's locked on. That is locked onto something. Nearly. Really? Don't think we're powered up yet. That's strange. Okay, your guess is as good as mine. We shouldn't be finding any. There's something there. It could. Well, let's power up. Okay, so I've now powered up the ZX81. So we should. Oh, there we are. Just like that. And again, I knew you were getting this flicker, but that's actually a really nice, I would say clear, sharp picture. But yeah, through RF modulation, there is the board. So the board is still working, and I'll see if I can, just excuse me a minute while I see if I can just zoom in for you. And you can actually see we're down here, we have a little K prompt. So that's how I know that the board and the ROM is okay, and that's basically as far as we got to last time. But for an RF modulator, that's actually a really nice crisp picture, and I think this is going to work brilliantly on the system. So the ZX81 basically ran, instead of having like a black screen and white text, it ran the other way around. So it was a white or off grey screen and with black text. So that's fantastic, and that's actually working really, really well. We just cut to the other camera. This board is now actually on, but there's no LEDs or lights or anything like that to tell us that it's on. So you just have to take my word for it. So let me show you some of the bits I have got. Let's leave that running for a minute. This plate is probably going to get, it's already getting very hot, but the thing is working well at the moment. So first of all, this little package here, which I want to share with you. So this is an original, there we are, Sinclair, made in England, 16K RAM pack. And there it is. It's got a few marks. These marks seem to happen when they got cables wrapped around them and it just burns into the plastic. But that is an original 16K RAM pack. So I guess the thing to see is, I've never tried it, by the way. So I guess let's power off. Okay, so we are definitely off. And just show you the other screen. So yeah, see, we're off. I guess let's put in the RAM pack. Being careful. You can also see how it's keyed. So there's this red mark. Let's put the RAM pack in and okay. It's, yeah, I don't know how well this is going to work, but let's power up and see if that makes any difference. That doesn't really tell us anything. I've got to be honest. That may be working. That may not. I don't know. We really need to get some sort of keyboard on this, in all honesty. Which, let's power back down. Which brings me on to the other thing I have bought, which is in here. And Gocart is just asking, aren't those notorious for loose connections? Yes, they are. And the whole blue tack to secure them in. I've been thinking about that, and basically it might be possible. Let's just make sure we're powered off. We are. It's actually quite well. It's not the best that, but I mean that's your problem. So the solutions are to people actually like soldering them directly on. Could do. I'm actually wondering, I need to clean this connector up, but I'm actually wondering about if I actually add some solder, some tin to the connectors, and then that'll just add a bit more material, basically. So when this connects in, it's actually got more to hold on. I mean, it's possible we could permanently fix that, possibly, because, I mean, you would run the system with that. And if we're going to 3D print a new shell anyway, that's something we could do. But I just quite cool to have a RAM pack. So it'd be interesting to see if that's working. I mean, the system didn't crash, but would it necessarily address the RAM on boot? I don't know. This is why the Timex version was so much better, because it had this all on board as standard. Anyway, right. In this envelope, which I can't remember if I actually ever opened. Don't think I have, you know. Okay. So in here, a brand new keyboard. Date on this is 2014, so it's a little bit old, but it doesn't. It's made of stuff that doesn't deteriorate. So there is a brand new keyboard. Hence why we have the ability to 3D print a whole new case and put a whole new keyboard on it. And there it is. So yeah, it literally is. It's a piece of, well, you can see there is the adhesive that you pull away on the back, and yeah, so it's literally just, that is going to single-handedly be the worst thing you could possibly type on. There is no tactile anything in that, but it is a replacement, so it should be virtually a complete like-for-like replacement of the original. Oops, we are running out of space here, but yeah, pretty much is, I think. Yeah, it looks virtually identical. It's not quite, but it's good enough, if you know what I mean. So it should be possible just to, even outside the case, just to put these new ends into their respective slots. Both these don't feel amazingly tight fitting, but maybe we're all right. Okay. So maybe let's just try and see if that works. So power back up. Okay. Again, apologies for the flickering. Not a lot I can do about that, unfortunately. CRT technology. Nice little CRT this, actually. It's for these little cheap monitors. It's not bad. I'll just see if I can make some adjustments. Okay. Ah! Did you see that? 1, 2, it works. 3, 4. Oh no, there we are. We are getting something. If I just hold shift and rub out, which is basically the British terminology for delete, where we adopted delete very quickly. That's a difference actually on this keyboard. It has some very sort of British ways of saying things. There we go. I think one of my connectors, this one is a bit on the flaky side and it's not quite in the socket. Though you really shouldn't be using the membrane keyboard outside, but it does actually mean it's running. It works. So a little bit of tweaking and cleaning up the socket and I think would be all right, you know. So I was just trying to see if I could rub stuff. Hold down the shift, rub out. Yep, there we go. Excellent. I was told by Simon, who donated this machine to me, that he thought the ROM was bad. So far, the ROM seems okay, he says. I suppose we need to try and put some basic in, I guess. Which on these is an absolute pain to do. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I am not huge on the Sinclair hardware. I was brought up Acorn, so this is always a little bit funny. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So the keyboard has a series of basic commands printed on top. So if I wanted to say print, he says, I think what I do, instead of typing print, I think we just hit P. Ah, yes, there we go. And see it says print, single quote. This is going to work now, you watch. It is single-handedly the worst thing to type on, it really is. sent a message on Instagram entitled, Tom, what the F are you doing? Have I even got Instagram? But I'll have to. Yes, I have. Might have to go and grab my phone in a minute because I don't know if this PC's got it logged in. But right. Okay. Watch this. Hey, it works. It works. There we are. Right. Yeah. Right. Brilliant. Okay. So we can assume the machine is working. Obviously, the only way we're going to know if the RAM is okay, as in that RAM expander is okay, is obviously we need to run something that uses the memory. So it's working really well. So what I'm hoping is, what I want to do is really, if we go to show, I'd like to run it on this little TV because I think it would actually really look the part if you think about it. So where I see us going with the project is we'll bring this bit to an end shortly because I've pretty much done what I wanted to do with this tonight. What I will say is, I said about the lack of screws. Well, I also bought in this envelope, and unfortunately they're taped to the invoice that has my address on it, so I need to be a little careful how I show this. So just bear with me. Not that I, wouldn't like you all around for tea, but you know where I'm going with this. I bought a new set of screws for the system. So we've got a couple of existing screws, and there are some new compatible screws, so to be able to tighten the whole thing up. So that was the other thing I bought, and it's just great to actually be able to play with this stuff. I do have, but I don't know if I have I used to have some cables for the data in, data out audio leads. I do have a compatible modern tape deck, Bush sort of tape deck. They did a reissue a few years ago. My brother bought me one, so it's a brand new tape deck. So it is possible to play games or tapes into the machine, and we can see if the tape interface works and if we get the volume correct. So a huge thank you to everybody that joined me live and gave me help and advice in real time while we tried to get the ZX81 up and running. As I said during the live stream, the plan now is to 3D print a custom case with some minor modifications in order to try and seat the RAM pack a little bit better so it maybe doesn't fall out the machine. We need to fit the new membrane keyboard, add the new screws, and I also want to look at provision for the new ESP32 coprocessor and VGA out, which I think is really going to make this a really useful system going forward, while still retaining the original charm and getting it still running with that really cool black and white CRT television that I picked up recently. If you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe to the channel. You can also join me for 8 till 8, which, as I said in the intro, is live most Saturday evenings from 2000 hours GMT. It would be great to have your company. We normally have a laugh and we go on for a couple of hours in the evening with me tinkering on some project in some way or another. That's just about it for me right now, so do make sure you subscribe to me here on Wi-Fi Sheep, and I will see you real soon right here on the channel. Until next time, thank you so much for your company, and bye for now.